carried me. Flew to the scene, the breeze carried me. Rare, pull it out of thin air to the throne. Level 10 zone, set it in stone. We ain't fooling with clone coons and clown clothes. Got them heaters for useless eaters, bottom feeders. Cause we the best, the pros, the vets, no contest. Just projections of Amen in the flesh. The government cuts checks, we're not impressed. Oval office, no desk, snowball effect, yes. We serve and perfect. Logically, y'all not trying to see the cosmology. Then back to the 13 colonies, learned things, found that we were kings. Prophecy, now we control destiny. Obviously, Amen is the recipe. Privacy, press repeat, or rest in peace. Control destiny, obviously, Amen.
Alright. Alright. Here we go again. Good evening and welcome to High and Mighty Talks with Nubian Menkares. I'm your host, the intellectual Nubian Menkares. But before I start off anything, I gotta start off always in the name of Amen, the Supreme, the All-Powerful, the one and only true Lord. In Amen we trust, in Amen we think, and in Amen we continue forward forever. Good evening. I'm the intellectual Nubian Menkares, and this is High and Mighty Talks with Nubian Menkares. I'm going to touch on a few subjects tonight. I know it's kind of impromptu and everything, but I want to just touch on a few things, straighten out a few things, and just make my mark. This is our. I want to say this is our 7th episode of High and Mighty Talks with Nubian Menkares. And it's going along well so far. I like to thank you all who are truly listening with your minds, allowing yourself to process what's being said and not just taking what I'm saying at face value. Shout out to all the thinkers out there, and the believers y'all could listen to. Not that it'll do you any good, but that's fine. I'm here for the thinkers. I'm not here for the believers. I don't want nobody believing in what I say. I want people to think about what's being said. Let your mind process it, and you make your decision from there whether this makes sense. Because this is all about what's logically sound, sense and sensibility, and everything I've said since I started back in 2012 on YouTube and on going back to my first broadcast on Blog Talk Radio. I've done nothing but build my foundation, the foundation of MENTELLECT, on logical and rational thinking. Above logical and rational. Hell, I'm just going to say I made thinking popular again amongst our people. It was something we ain't been done in a very, very, very long time. I'm talking about centuries, where our people allowed actual intelligence and logical and rational thought to lead us over emotion and belief, which we need to put an end to going forward. So anyway, I'm going to touch on a few things, right? Things I wanted to discuss. All right. Yeah, I'll need to see my list. Yeah, send me my list. My dear wives, send me the list I'm going to talk on, because I was rattling off things earlier about what I wanted to discuss, and I was coming up with some really good ones. You can inbox to me. Okay. Well, I can start off on one. I'll start off with the one I'm looking at, why we disregard. Well, let me see. Okay, I just got it. Because I want to always gradually move into one thing to another and even keel. Let me see. Okay, hold on. Saying up, I'm sorry.
That's the beast trying to cover up ethnic American culture.
Yeah, well, one of the topics is, why does the beast try to cover up ethnic American culture and our heritage? Music, I was thinking upon this earlier about music. Music is what basically makes and speaks the heritage and the culture of a people. People are known through the music that they create, the music that they produce. And ethnic Americans, who y'all currently know as African Americans, we fighting like hell to push that whole African American and that black thing to the side and just stand up for who we really are as ethnic Americans, the real natives of this land, from our Olmec, Aztec, Inca, and Mayan ancestry, which I'm sad to see was a documentary. There's a documentary on YouTube from a so-called reputable source about the Mayans. And I can't help but to notice I'm seeing all these documentaries surface and resurface about the Mayans and the Olmecs and the Aztec and the Inca. And they're just totally putting images of people in those roles as the Mayans, as the Aztec, as the Inca, and the Mayan. They're putting people there who don't even belong there. They're putting the Mongoloid Indians into the so-called Native Americans, which is not their people. Here it is. These people are just going to totally disregard the Bonin Park temples and the real images of the Mayans, which were bronze people, so-called black people, the copper-colored races. They're just going to totally disregard how the real Mayans look. And they just set up here and fabricated a whole bunch of pictures of so-called Mongoloid Indians. They made them the face of the Mayan ancestry. Why is these people publicly lying? Why are they lying to the public? What the Mayans, the pictures they showed of themselves, how they really looked, was so-called black people, bronze, copper-colored people. No mixture, no Asian mixture, nothing. Just straight up so-called black people. People who look like us today. Not Africans neither. Not Africans. So-called black people. I want y'all to stop making black people synonymous, so-called black people synonymous with Africa. That's all the game, man. And this is how they go into helping to erase ethnic American culture here in our country of America, because I'm looking at how, music is being impacted. For the time our people got off of the plantations, those are our people who were in bondage in this country, and we started to make our own music and things like that. That was a sign of us coming up as our own ethnic American culture, our own separate culture, something we had prior to bondage when we were set free out of bondage, supposedly in 1865. Then came the advent of music such as the blues, right? Then jazz music, then soul, and therefore R&B and all other kinds of music that came from the bebop and all these other music. Now, by us, rock and roll, and keep going, rock and roll, rock music, all that are all really, even to rap music, got to put rap in there, got to throw it in, calypso, Caribbean music. That's all ethnic American music. And those people who are Caribbean, you people from the Caribbean, you're ethnic American, you are Caribbean Americans. You see, you calling yourself Jamaicans and Haitians and all this other stuff. Y'all are Caribbean Americans, because last time I checked, your islands are still in American territory. It's still in North American territory. I don't care who has, the British Crown has rights over your government, whatever, it don't matter. It's still in American territory, and you people are ethnic American, whether you know it or not. You just ethnic Americans from the Caribbean. But anyway, ever since we were able to start creating our own music, we were basically taking hold of this world, because, from the time we started doing our music, people started copying our music. Our music started to make its way around the world, right? And as our music, which was the best music on the planet, because when you look at all these other races and cultures, and you look at, the music that comes from their native lands, their music from their native lands, I don't care if it's Italian music, I don't care if it's Irish music, I don't care if it's Scottish, French, whatever kind of music, African music, no music has had impact on the world like ethnic American music. You see, there's a reason why they want to refer to it as black music or just American music, because they want to take the ethnic American connection out. They want to take out the true people who produce the sound that changes the world, that the world basically, vibrates to, that the world basically listens to. The world is run off of ethnic American music, so-called black music. The world is run off of that. all music is influenced by ethnic American music, so-called African American, which again, I don't like using that terminology, or black music. The world is all influenced by it, and everything they copy in these different countries and whatever the case is, because nobody's listening to their music. The world is listening to forms of our music that these, people who are in charge, these, Caucasians who are in charge, these Caucasians who are in charge are trying to basically cleanse our influence, or take our influence out of the music. I don't even like to use the word cleanse, because taking our influence out is like dirtying the music up. They're watering the music down to take out the soul in the music, to take out the ethnic American influence, the authentic American music. Because when I say American, I mean us as a nationality, because y'all know my stance here, and it's always been my stance that we are the only real Americans here. Everybody else came from elsewhere. We didn't come from Africa. So I had to touch on that, and I had to make that clear. All right. I want to make sure I got the link to everything. I want to make sure I send off the link to everybody. Hold on a second. All right. Okay. So our influence, put it there. Our influence is being erased. Our influence is being erased in music. Our influence is being erased in a lot of things. And I said this is because we were tricked, into erasing ourselves at a certain point in time. When I say we were tricked into being black people, like I said, it was a time when we were referred to as the copper-colored races. Then we eventually became the colored people. And then we eventually allowed ourselves to fade into darkness, aka become Negroes and black people, and then African American, to further hide our true heritage as ethnic Americans here. That was all done. Anytime people go out of their way to make it seem like we're just like an immigrant class here, because when they call us African American, it's like they're trying to make it seem as though we are some immigrant class that came from elsewhere, when that's not true at all. Because wherever we came from, we should surely be able to return to. Now, we don't have a return to where we supposedly come from, because they claim they know exactly in Africa where we came from, which is a lie. Like, they claim to know exactly where we came from, the western part of Africa. So it should be easy to make that reconnection and return us there, if that's where we come from. But notice, none of these places are open for us to return to. Why? Because we didn't come from there. That's all the story. As you people in Chicago say, that's all cap. Right? So, hold on. Yeah. I'm sorry, say again? Someone had a question? Okay, let me look at your question. Hold on. Somebody had a question. Okay. Because so much is going on in the chat right now.
You said that other races come to America for cleansing.
The other races, say it again, the other races. You read the question for I like that better, because it's too much for me to keep up on. So what's the question?
The other races come to America for cleansing.
Yeah, other races did come to America for cleansing. Everybody came here, but who made it, who cleansed America, who basically started to cultivate America so that these other people can come in here? It was our people. It was not the so-called Mongoloid Indians, the so-called red Native American Indians. They didn't cultivate America. As I told you, if you always see them in movies, they're never anywhere farming on the land. They're never building anything on the land. They're always setting up teepees and things on the land. This is their heritage. Now, they tell you, now I'm going to show you how you know these are not the natives to this land. They tell you, they gave the so-called Mongoloid Indian and red Native American Indians, who were really Asians, they gave them reservations to live on. Now, if these people are such builders and whatnot and all of this, how come their reservations look run down? Why did their reservations? They've been given a free hand. This is supposed to be their land. Nobody can build or do nothing. They got their own police and everything else. Basically, they were given their own section to operate. Why is a lot of their reservations run down? Why is there alcoholism on their reservation? Why is the white man allowed to live on their reservation? I thought these people were supposed to be the enemies of the so-called white man. Why is it Caucasians are in charge of a lot of their so-called American Indian tribes. How'd that happen? Straight up Caucasians. Make that make sense to me. These people got casinos they were given, right? They got casinos they were given. They got land they were given. This country, our tax money goes to giving these people money every year because they claiming, you know, that they are indigenous people. Yet the real indigenous people, the real people that actually built this country, who actually built, you know, harvested this country before white people came into this country, before the Mongoloids came into this country. Our people were cultivating this land. They were growing crops on this land, building on this land and whatnot, and making this land livable. Also clearing out sections in America, making this place livable for people, making it livable for people to come behind, because America could not have been covered all in trees and everything when the Caucasians came here if our people were here. If you found mound cities going back to the Mayan people 1,100 years ago in Georgia, they obviously had to clear out forests and trees and things like that for them to live. They obviously had to do that. And you look at where they come from, they had a way of just clearing out forests and building whole communities, whole civilizations in different spots all over. So they did have a advanced society wherever they went to. So this can all be seen and proven. Now, we being the descendants of those people who were thrown into slavery and made to serve these Caucasians and build the United States economy up, that would represent the, you know, the immigrants who come in, who colonize. They always use the natives. They always enslave the natives and use them to build the land. Wherever you go, wherever the natives are, they're always the ones who get colonized, gentrified, and they end up using these people to build up the land for the people who colonized and conquered. And it's no different here than in America. It's just that our people are, you know, they don't know that, because not only have you been colonized physically, you've been colonized mentally. In other words, they got you to buy into the whole black thing. They tricked our people into being black. You see, they tricked our people into being black, meaning they tricked us into erasing our whole ethnic American heritage. We erased our whole Mesoamerican heritage. You see, in doing that. You see any other questions coming up? Because you're going to be in charge of giving me the questions. Okay. What else did I want to touch on? I just want to make sure I'm trying to touch on everything.
The destruction of ethnic American culture.
Okay, I touched on the destruction of ethnic American culture through the music. Through the music, that's one of the main. Now, like I said, if you notice, it's no coincidence that you see people like a Fat Joe who come in and talking about Latinos, 50% creators of hip hop. That's basically how people let themselves in. Then eventually they take hold of the music. Like they were saying that these Caucasians who travel around and they was copying from black bands that were doing jazz music back when bronze copper colored people, so-called black people, started jazz music. You had these Caucasians who would listen to their music and travel around and start doing what's called ragtime and things like that. That was the early time of jazz, where these Caucasians, you know, they had venues for them to travel around. They would just copy what they heard so-called black people and the copper colored people doing, which became jazz. So then they tried to attribute jazz to Caucasians. When everybody know that's false, they trace jazz, that started jazz back in around 1905 here in America, from copper-colored Americans, from bronze ethnic American men. You see, if we're not careful, our ethnic American culture and contributions and heritage is going to be erased. It's being erased right now, and they, like I said, we erasing it by calling ourselves black, by calling ourselves African American, by letting people call us Negroes, because again, black equals nothing. Black equals nothing. Always keep that in mind. Black equals nothing. And it is meant for you to align yourself with nothing when you call yourself black. Okay? Let me look. Make sure. Why we disregard our ethnic American music. One of the main reasons we disregard our ethnic American music, like I'm saying, Like I noticed we don't hold up our ethnic American musical icons. We don't, you know, like if a decade passed, we act like these people didn't exist. There should be no reason why 90s music should be foreign to people that were born in the 90s. You see, I'm sitting here listening to music from the 90s, from the 80s, from the 70s that sound just as good now as it did back then. Sounds even better in the climate of garbage that we're listening to right now. And that's all done purposely. The climate of music is garbage on purpose. The climate of music is supposed to get better with each generation or on another level. You don't see this going to another level. You notice when we started with blues music, then we went to jazz music, right? Then we went to bebop and ragtime and you know, the early stages of R&B music, right? Then you started with soul, then went into soul music. You got people like Ray Charles coming with the R&B, and then you had the soul music coming in, right? Then you had all of these musics coming from our people, coming from our genre, and we're influencing the world through our music. We're influencing the world through our music. Right up to modern day rap music, so-called hip hop. Even though you got degenerate versions of it today, right? That is not organically growing out of it like drill and trap music. You got this inorganic music, which is why a lot of our people are not really feeling it, because real music that's authentic and organic, right? That comes from a people. It doesn't matter what generation it is. I could look back at music that was being played before I was born and I like it. From ethnic American people, from Ray Charles to early Motown. This was before my time. I played that music. I played music from Stevie Wonder in the 60s, as well as the 70s and stuff like that. Ethnic American music is timeless. See, this is the thing with our people. Our music is timeless. And you've had people trying to do knockoffs of our music. You got these grays. You got certain one of these Latinos who are not our people trying to do remixes and recovers. You got hell, Jennifer Lopez. She got on acting like an ethnic American. She got on dancing on Living Color. Got on with Ja Rule and them. She got on acting like an ethnic American. And then as soon as they use us to get on and get popular, then they go back to being Latinos. They go back to trying to connect the Caucasians. You see? So we need to cancel all that. Right? I want to go further into this. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. I want to go further into this human and keep watching the questions because I can't pay attention to both from this. All right. So my wife is my moderator. She's going to be like my little moderator doing the questions and answers. All right. See, so if anything comes across, she's going to let me know. So if you have any questions, send questions in and let her tell me. She'll relay the question to me. So that way I'm not going to miss your questions. But anyway. Okay. But anyway. Let me see. I just want to make sure I touch on everything. Okay. Give me a second. All right. Okay. Was taking the soul out of the music a part of destroying ethnic American culture? Yeah, I think I touched on it, but I could go further because, this society, I'm pretty much come to the end of the road when it comes to music. And like I said, in each generation, the next generation is supposed to produce a new kind of music. Every 10 years, a whole nother sound is supposed to be produced. Every 10 to 15, really every decade. Every decade, a whole nother sound is supposed to be produced. Even if it's a different take on the sounds that previously existed, a whole nother sound is supposed to be produced. We're supposed to be producing that sound. Reason why we're not producing that sound, number one, is because the Caucasian machines that help promote, ethnic American music are no longer interested in promoting and pushing ethnic American music, pure ethnic American music, which is soul, R&B, jazz, rap, real music, rock music, rock and roll, all that's ethnic American, or was influenced by ethnic American music. They're trying to cleanse us, or trying to do an ethnic cleansing of the music industry and music in itself. They're trying to do an ethnic cleansing. That's why you don't see no new soul music. You don't see no new R&B music. You don't see any of that. They exist in smaller genres, and a lot of these artists from the 70s and the 80s, these ethnic American artists, they're struggling, and a lot of them are struggling to get gigs and things like that. See, because once the music industry closes them out, they then reach out to a lot of these venues to start closing the doors to ethnic Americans to perform. You see, a certain people got control of that. A certain people got control of all of those venues, and this is how they start squeezing out ethnic American music, and they'll let in people like a Travis Scott or some of these new people that, they got to convince you to like these people. They got to convince you to like this music that's coming out now. They got to convince you to like this soulless music. That's why they'll pay these people, which they still do payola in the music industry. They'll pay these people money to spend, some of this modern garbage. And the whole thing is to get you to like it. Because if there's nothing for you to listen to, if there's nothing for you to draw upon, and this is all you're being given, you're going to make the best of what you got. Our people have always done that. That's why they took something like some garbage slave food, all that swine and cornbread and whatever the so-called white man threw to us, like they was throwing food to pigs, like slop, throwing food to us like animals. We took it and made soul food out of it, you see. So when you're given only one thing, people will gravitate toward that one thing and whatnot. And that's all this generation got, listening to trap and drill music, which is just pure garbage. Pure garbage that is meant to destroy the minds of our people. Because, see, music is supposed to create a flow of thought, a buoyancy of thought. Many of the times when I needed to clear my mind, I would go, sit down, maybe light up one of these, listen to some good music, and my mind would be relaxed and clear. You see, in this society, to have a clear mind, to have a pure mind, to have a sane mind as a ethnic American, as a bronze man or a bronze woman, to have a clear mind, to have a sane mind, to have a pure mind is anti this society. In other words, they want to dirty up our minds. They want to dirty up our children's minds. The beast wants to dirty up our minds, our children's minds. That's why they do a full-on assault on so-called black men and their masculinity. That's why they put out shows like P-Valley. They'll put out shows like just pretty much all the damn Netflix. You see, where they emasculating black men with the damn Power book. You see, they turn around, next thing you know, they show you two black males engaged in homosexuality together, kissing each other. Here it is, you watching a damn movie, you watching a TV show, and next thing you know, that just come out of nowhere. Because they know 9 times out of 10 bronze people, we see that, we're going to change the channel. We don't want to see that. Ethnic Americans don't want to see that garbage. We don't want to see no filth. We don't want to see any sexual degeneracy that you're trying to normalize and make it like there's nothing wrong with it, so our children can watch that garbage. Next thing you know, you watching something, your children sitting there, they cut the 2 men kissing each other. You see, because they trying to put that in your head. And a lot of you so-called black producers, a lot of you TV producers out here who just want some money out of Hollywood, who just want to be down, you part of the program too, man. You part of the program too, because they let you put your name on this garbage, on this massive form of programming to destroy our people, so then they can point back to you and say, see, 50 Cent produced that. See, what's the chick's name? I forget her name. She's up under Oprah Winfrey. Or they could point to the so-called black man and black woman for producing this garbage. You see, like the Woman King, they'll put what's her face there? Viola Davis out in front of that. You see, when they sit up here and destroy our culture, they usually put a black face, and I say black face, as in a coon and a sambo. They put a black face out there to be the front face of all that. Like with this chick Lizzo, with the damn flute blowing it for this James Monroe, the slave owner being called a president. You see, playing his flute. This racist, So they always put our face in there to help destroy us because, again, all they got to do is offer you something. And what are they usually offering? Not just money, but they offer you acceptance. Because we all know as black people, so-called black people got low self-esteem. And you only have low self-esteem because you don't know who you are as a people. You don't know who you are, where you come from. You're just being told that you're black people, which is nothing. You're basically being told that you're nothing as black people. You're being told that you're nothing. And when they tell you African American, it's like you're being told that you're double nothing, because African American denotes you being brought over here from Africa on slave ships to America. That's what African American is really meant to denote. It has nothing to do with any immigrant status because we're not immigrants here. So why would they call us African Americans in 1988? That's when Jesse Jackson came up and he got the call from his Caucasian masters to get up here and start promoting our people as African Americans to make it seem like we are immigrants here, like an Italian American, like a German American, like a French American, like we immigrants here. Because again, that was done to further hide our ethnic American heritage. To tell this lie that we came from Africa. And see, the line's not even holding up anymore. You got too many sources, too many things that's coming out where the whole African thing is starting to be debunked. The whole out of Africa, the whole we come from Africa, that's starting to be debunked. People like Umar Johnson, y'all gonna have to find a new occupation, man. You guys gonna have to find a new goddamn occupation because Pan-Africanism is dead. Oh, I want to touch on this human thing again. The human race is comprised of 3 races. I just want to make this clear, and I need to get this on, because I did the human and the almond race, but I want to go a little further into the human thing. The human race is comprised of 3 races. Your East Indians, your Asians, and your Caucasians. Those are the 3 prime members within the human race. Anything else is a mixture of those 3. So-called Arabs, the Mongoloid Indians, Mexicans, all those people are an amalgamation of those 3, or a mixture of those 3. Either because again, there's only Caucasian, there's only Asian, and there's East Indian. Now, East Indian and Asian is pretty much the same thing, and your Caucasians is also Asian. They come out of them. That's your human race. Black people are not a part of the human race. Black people are a totally different species from the human race. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but I've always been the one advocating this. So when you hear people come out later on and start saying this or saying my words, knowing that they copied it from me, look at us and look at them. I'm going to need you all to divorce yourself from belief. And I know I've spoken on this several times. I know my followers and my people, they like, damn, he's speaking on this. But yeah, I have to make this clear because I'm going somewhere else with it now. We as so-called black people, the reason why we are hated, the reason why there is racism is because we're not the same race as the humans. We are a totally different species. Race means species. Race has nothing to do with color. Because if it does have everything to do with color, how do you put human and black in the same context? Because if you're saying there's only one race, the human race, okay, but then you say black race and white race. But then, so which one is it? Is there just a human race? Or is there a black race and a white race? Because the white race belongs to the human race, right? The so-called white race belongs to the human race. The Indians, the Arabs, and all these other people, they belong to the human race, all right? These people belong to the human race. Look at them and look at us. You see, they all got the same kind of straight hair, right? They all got the same kind of straight, like animal-like fur. It is animal hair. They got animal fur. They all got the same straight hair, the same type of features, the same recessive features, the same artificial looking features. And then you look at us, our hair is growing up. We got woolly crown. We got the dark carbon skin. We got the lips and nose going. We're 2 totally different genotypes and phenotype. So obviously we're not what they are. We're two totally different species, which makes all the sense in the world, because if you're going to say that racism is based on a difference in race, then that means that's a difference in species, not a difference in color. Because I said this before, that the so-called East Indians, they're just as dark as us, a lot of them, yet they don't get treated like we get treated. Why is that if it's a color thing? If it's a color thing, why don't the East Indians, who are just as dark as us, how come they don't get treated the way we get treated? You see, if it's a color thing, they got dark skin. Nobody put that together. Like, the East Indians are dark, just like us. So obviously it's not a thing. And the Mexicans, who the so-called white man seem to love and has accepted, they dark as well. They're dark as well. Why is it not a problem with the so-called Mexicans? A lot of them are just as dark as us. Yet they're not getting harassed by the police. They're not getting redlined in their district. They're not being victims of predatory lending and things like that. All the things that are labeled to be against the so-called black people. All the things that are labeled as blacks. And, and like I said, this is not even hidden. Why is this all this negative energy pointed at our people, the people who actually built this land, who through slave labor built up this economy? Why is all the envy and all the anger and all the energy and the negativity coming at us? We didn't do anything to anybody. So why is this coming at us? Answer: because number one, we're the natives of this land, and the people who tried to conquer this land, they don't want the natives to live. They want to be considered the natives of this land. And they can't do that if the natives are still alive walking around. So if you can't kill all of the natives, what do? You fade them into darkness. You start calling them black people. That's how you start to get rid of the natives without killing them all off. You just take their identity away. You lie and say they African and they came on some ship. 100 million of them came on a damn ship somewhere. That's how you take away their identity. That's how you take away the truth, which is that they are the Native Americans, the real Native Americans. They are the ethnic Americans of this country. That's the truth. You see, the first people here in North America was our people from South America. Y'all know the history. I done broke it down on American Republic Radio. See, but this has to be constantly repeated because it's not enough sources out there. I'm only one of few voices out there, and the guy KURIMEO, IMMORTAL, even though he don't really make no videos, like I haven't seen anybody go so deep on our ethnic American heritage and not tying it to no American Indian nonsense. Go deep on our ethnic American heritage as Mesoamericans, our descendancy to our Mesoamerican bloodline, and being the first and only real Americans here as ethnic. See, they don't want to promote the Americas as a ethnic American continent. They don't want to promote that. That's why if you look even in South America, they've been whitening up South America from Brazil and all them other places. They've been Cuba and whatnot. All these places which were Mexico, all these places that you say are Latin strongholds or Latino strongholds were once occupied by bronze, copper-colored people, by ethnic Americans. Mexico was occupied by the ethnic Americans as the Olmecs. Okay? They occupied that. You see? But the Mexicans want to hide that culture and that heritage. The Mexicans that are there, the ones who are really East Indians. Those Mexicans that are there, they're really East Indian, and some of them are Asian and East Indian mixed. If you look at certain Mexicans, you can't really tell if they East Indian. They look like East Indians. They mix with East Indian and some black in them, some bronze, I should say, because they mixed in when they came across the Bering Straits from Mongolia, and they mixed in with some of our people. And that's why you see the mix today. You see, but the original people that were there were our people. They do that in Cuba. The majority of Cuba was bronze, copper-colored people, was the ethnic American. The majority of Cuba. The ones you see over there now are the white Spaniards who came in and mixed in and whatnot. So they always do that wherever our people are at. They come over, Caucasians come over, be it this white Spaniards, be it the English, wherever, they come over and they start trying to dominate and take over the area wherever we at. And they end up subjugating us and putting us into some kind of servitude to them. And that happened here in America. America. Like Puerto Rico, America. But what it truly means when you talk about, what it truly means when it talks about mixing outside our race, that's us. That represents us being convinced to mix outside of our species. Mixing outside our race is mixing outside our species. Why? Because we're not a part of the human race. The human race is people with straight hair and pale to dark skin, straight hair, and flank features, meaning recessive features, which includes your Caucasians, your Asians, your East Indians. We don't fit into that. We don't fit into that. We have dominant features. So that just goes to show you. And again, for those people who are going to ask, the stupid people that's going to ask in the comment section, well, brother, where's your proof? Your eyes are your proof. You got to start learning to rely on what you can see. You got to start relying on what you can see and what you can hear, because a big focus has been put on getting us to go against our natural sensory. A big focus has been put on us going against our natural sensory, trying to get us to go against what we see. In other words, they're trying to convince us that something that is not normal or something that is wrong is right. They're trying to convince us that, no, your skin is not copper. Your skin is not bronze. Your skin is not copper colored. You're actually black people. Then when you say, well, hold on, I'm holding black up next to my skin don't look like this black piece of paper or this black piece of material. How am I black? How am I black like this? Oh, you just are. You just are. No, I'm just not. I'm just not. I'm just not going to accept what you're telling me. I'm just not going to sit up here and believe your lies. I'm just not. I can look and see that my skin is not black. And see, that sets a bad trend for the people who want to get you to be a believer. That sets a bad trend when you start going with your own sensory, what you actually seeing, going with what you actually see, and going with what you actually hear. Because they don't want you to do that. They want you to go with what they tell you you're going to see and what you're going to hear. You see? They want to tell you what you're seeing. Don't go with what you see. Go with what we're telling you see. Don't go with what you're hearing. Go with what we're telling you, what we're going to tell you you're going to listen to. You see? That's when they start taking over your sensory. They're taking over our sensory. They're going to sit. If they got us to sit up here and convince ourselves that we black, they done took over what we see. You see, they done took over what we hear. They done take over how we speak. Ain't they doing that right now? You can't say the F word. You can't say, the F word. I gotta say that because I'm on YouTube. Y'all know what I mean. Bag with an F. You can't say that. You can't say a lot of different words, but here it is. And in the regular world, in the real world, you say them words all day. But hey, coincidentally, the only word you can say is nigga. That's not outlawed. Anything to denigrate our people, that's okay. Notice that you can say nigga all day. You don't get no YouTube strikes for saying nigga at all. But you can't say nothing about Jewish people. You can't say no ethnic slur about Jews. You can't say no ethnic slur about lesbians. You can't say nothing bad against lesbians and homosexuals, which they now have said are an ethnicity. I don't know how. You see, but you can't say nothing against them people because those people are protected. You're not. In other words, they find it's offensive. What they're saying is it's offensive to say anything against them, who are the homosexuals and the lesbians and the religious people and the fake cultural people, what they tell themselves. Don't say nothing against us, but you can have a ball with the word nigga. Why is there no protection against that? Why can't I get flagged for saying nigga? Because anything to denigrate our people is all fair. And that shows we're not the same people. That shows they don't care about us because we're not the same race. We're not the same species. It makes sense. Stop buying into this lie that we part of the human race. That's some more cap, as y'all say in Chicago, to try to get us to believe that we all are together, we all one, we all the same. No, we are not. No, we are not. We are a totally different species, a totally different race. Keep that same energy. Stop. Don't sit up here and let them turn around and tell us, oh, this guy's crazy for what he's saying. But you believe in something called racism. How is there racism if there's only one race, the human race? How is there racism? How does a thing such as racism exist, and why is it only applied to our people? Why is that only applied to our people, racism, if race is a color thing? It should be applied to everybody, but it's not. You can't say nothing against Asian people. You can't say nothing against... If I said an ethnic slur against an Asian, I get flagged. If I said an ethnic slur against a Caucasian, I'll get flagged. If I said an ethnic slur against Italians, Germans, Jews, anything, I'll get flagged. Why is it that I can say nigga? Because that's their way of letting you know we don't care about you niggas. That's their way of letting you know you're not our people. So when you mix your seed with these people, let it be known that you're mixing outside your species. Not outside. It ain't got nothing to do with color. We're not all human. We're not human. I should say we're not all. Some of our people vibrate on a human mindset, but we're not physically, genetically, we're not human. And again, I know that may sound crazy because you ain't hear the white man say it, because you ain't heard a bunch of studies coming out, because you ain't heard this, that, and the third. I know it may sound crazy. Okay. But go with what you can see. You can clearly see we're not part of the human race. You can look at the white man, the Asian man, the East Indian, the Arab. They all got the same kind of dog hair. They got the same animal fur. We don't have that. We don't have the same skin. We don't have the same features. We don't have the same nose, nothing. So what does that mean? We're different. Just because you find similarities in how we could walk and we got arms and all that, so what? A damn bear got legs and arms. You can find similarities on everything. It don't mean it's the same. We're not the same. And that's why there's a such thing. I'm going to stop at 7:30.
No,
yeah.
is the call-in number working?
Yes. Okay. Somebody got a call-in number. Hold on. Yeah. The call-in number is working. Number is 929-430-5191. 929-430-5191. Those of you who have a question. All right. I'll be back on Friday, some more high and mighties, but we just had to clear the air about that. Because I said this before and I'll say it again. I'm the first one that brought out that we're not part of the human race. I'm the first one that brought that out. All right. Somebody calling in?
Yeah, you get notifications on there. It's popping up on your phone. It's not popping up on your Mac.
Yeah, it's up on the Mac, but
You get missed calls?
yeah. Y'all try and call back in again.
You see it?
Yeah, I see it, but I was trying to answer it up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not showing up on your phone.
Okay.
Here, your phone goes to that.
Okay. Can you get it to that? Okay, open it?
Yeah.
Okay. Still learning this phone system thing, man. Here we go. All right. I was trying to take it from the laptop. Let's go from the laptop.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Let me see. Hello? Okay. I see a few different calls up here.
Yeah, you're getting called.
Okay,
I'm trying to call back again.
yeah, try and call back again. I'm gonna take your call. Try and call back again.
You just turn it up. You're on speaker.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Hold on. Y'all can call back in again. I'll take the call now. 929-430-5191. Make sure it's up all the way. Okay. So just call in. I'm seeing a call coming. Hold on. Wow. What the hell? I got something from Georgia. All right, try and call in again. I'm going to try this out again. I'm sorry. Try to call in again. Give me a second. My assistant, my lovely wife, is fixing things. Try to call in again. We go until 7:30, so I can try and call in again. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to. I see the voice. I see 7 voice calls. Let me see. One from 404. Okay. Why is it silenced? I'm not hearing the calls. I wonder why it's silenced. I shouldn't call him back, right? I see. Okay, I see you, North Carolina. I got to get this phone thing straight. I'm sorry. But it'll come in. Just try and keep calling in. She's trying to fix this. But anyway, yeah, we are a totally different species. And see, this is the ultra standing. This is the greater comprehension that we need to move us forward. We don't need people telling us we don't need people trying to guilt us into seeing what they see. See, because when you deliver knowledge like this, when you deliver a message like this, you're going to get a whole lot of trolls. You're going to get a whole lot of people who are going to say, oh, you sound crazy. What's this guy on? What's wrong with him? What is he talking about? Well, I'm pointing out obvious things. So if by me, okay, yeah. If by me pointing out the obvious, that makes me somehow crazy because I'm not walking around here like a black person believing that my skin is black, believing that we part of the human race, believing that we came from Africa on some slave ships. So in other words, in order for me to be considered sane or in alignment with how y'all thinking, I got to believe all that BS. In order for me to be, if that's what it is, then I don't want to be it. And whatever it is, if I need that, if I got to believe that to be accepted or part of that, I don't want to be. Never wanted to be. See, a lot of you so-called black people, you believe this nonsense that your skin is black, that you came from Africa on slave ships, that we are part of the human race, that we all come from the same God, the same source. You believe that all life started in Africa. These are a bunch of lies, man. These are all a bunch of lies. You see? And all it does is work to subjugate you. That's all it does. Notice all the lies work. That's how you know. What kind of truth is it that goes into subjugating one group of people? This is the truth, and this is going to subjugate all these people. But then the lies, or the so-called truth, elevates all the white people. The truth elevates all the white people, but the truth, and it's the same truth that coincidentally subjugates all the black people. Okay, y'all can try and call back now. I think she fixed it. I'm pretty sure she fixed it. But notice that it's truthful when it's us being subjugated, but when it comes to them being subjugated, it's all a lie. When it comes to us being elevated, it's all a lie. All right. Somebody on the line?
Yes, this is Ishan. How you doing, Mizu?
How you doing?
I'm good. I wanted to ask a bright question tonight.
Okay.
I have people coming up to me randomly now and saying, who are you supposed to be? You must build solar systems or something. And I think that's in connection to, like you was talking about, how we are celestial beings or whatever, and it's a lot of human race around us.
Mm-hmm.
And then I seen a show on Netflix talking about the gray man or something like that. And then in another show, Stranger Things, you got the kid in high school wearing the Baphomet logo on his shirt. So I was like pretty amazed about the stuff that they're showing the kids now today. Even with the video games or whatever, you got Grand Theft Auto or whatever, they're talking about Illuminati and all of this stuff and all seeing eyes and crazy stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's crazy that now that I'm grown or whatever, that I understand or understand most of the stuff that you speak of. And I just wanted to thank you for teaching, and dedicating your time for doing this for us and letting the world know, because it's not a lot of copper people out here doing this.
There's not. Well, let me stop you for a minute. There's none doing it. I'm the only one doing it. Let's not say it's not a lot. Let's just keep it real. I'm the only one. If I gotta deal with the, I gotta deal with the fallout. You should put it around the back. Yeah. If I gotta deal with the fallout, then goddamn it, I'm going to just take it as what it is. I'm the only one. There's nobody else out here teaching what I'm teaching. You see, I'm gonna just go ahead and take it as it is, because I don't want to hear these Johnny come latelys who still up here talking about, they want to take bits and pieces of MENTELLECT, take bits and pieces of what I teach and try to incorporate it into their teachings and whatnot. And then they get to still hide behind blackness because, see, they don't want to totally mentally invest in what I'm saying, because to mentally invest in it and advocate what I'm teaching is like walking off of a ledge for them, because then their YouTube audience, which is probably going to be way more than me. I got people that got hundreds of thousands of followers that have been copying me. You see, right. They want to hide safely behind their religions, their philosophies, their Pan-Africanism. They want to hide safely behind that while taking stuff from what I said from my stuff. Here it is. I got a few hundred likes, maybe 1,000 at the most, because my channel been shadow banned because they don't want this intel getting out here, because this is a transmission that did not come from the beast. This is a transmission that's not from him. This is a fresh transmission that's based in pure logical and rational thinking that did not come through him. Do you understand how powerful that is, that it didn't come from him?
Yes.
You see, and they don't want that. They don't want that. See, you could come up here and talk about Pan-Africanism all day. You could talk about Islam all day. You could talk about Egypt all day. Slavery all day, as long as you're not talking outside the box of what the Caucasians have allowed you to talk about. And it's pretty much everything that black people are into. Politics, reparations, all that's within the realm of what the Caucasian deems to be a safe speech. Minute you start speaking like I'm speaking, that we not part of the human race, that we not black people, that's a problem.
Yep. It's a big problem.
Because y'all done got people thinking that.
Yep, that's a big problem that I see out here. But they, like you said, they want to promote us being a part of a different seed and mixing our bloodline in with the Caucasian or the animalistic people, is what I would say, like that. And that's so scary, because they don't want to die out in the sun. I was in North Carolina, and it was heating up. There was a lot of people complaining. I know a couple people that get sunburn or shark skin or something they call like that, to where their skin starts peeling off and stuff like that. So I've been on an alkaline diet lately, eating sea moss and drinking alkaline water.
Okay.
So that's all I wanted to call and tell you about.
All right. Thank you for calling in.
Yes, sir. When's that?
When's that? Yeah. So y'all go ahead and call in. I'm taking calls. Go ahead, I'm taking calls live. Here I am. I'm on here live taking calls. So call in. Yeah, I'm gonna take the calls. So yeah, go ahead and call in. I'm taking calls. We live. Direct, and raw and uncut. Alright. So how many more minutes we got? Another 10, 20 minutes. Let me see. Let me know if there's any questions coming in.
Somebody had a question.
That was the question.
Is the more nappy your hair is symbolized that you have more bronze inside of you?
Nappy? We don't use that term, nappy. No, we don't use that term. That's some Caucasian. That's their way. That was their way of basically making fun of our hair because of the thickness and the richness of our hair and that it grows up with. You tend to have more carbon and iron, and more iron in your hair, which makes it more thicker, because people will tell you that our hair resembles steel wool. You know what steel wool is? Like they used to call us Brillo hair, call us Brillo pad when our hair is thick and in its natural state it has a Brillo type texture. Now, steel wool is what they use to scour out sinks. This is like, steel and wool, like, now think about this. our hair was being referred to as like Brillo pads, right? Like we had like the thick, tough hair. That comes from carbon and iron, which does what? Produce steel. So our hair literally took on a form of steel, a steel magnetic type of feel to it, because we are carbon beings that have ingested a lot of iron, which is what we're supposed to produce a more steely-like type, physical being. We're supposed to have tough skin. That's why if you ever notice, I remember back in the days, I see these old pictures of these bronze men who would be getting shot, right? And they was back then eating a lot of greens. Now, greens got a lot of iron in them, right? Greens and collard greens and whatnot. Mustard green got a lot of iron in them. It does something to our skin. It like kind of makes our skin tougher. It kind of takes on that toughness to our skin. If you look at a lot of old pictures of black men being shot, you notice the bullets don't go all the way through. It's like they almost there like they bounced off. They tore the skin, but it almost looked like they bounced off. Look at old gunshot wounds on so-called black men who lived in the South. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's almost like their skin was getting toughened, like the bullet didn't penetrate all the way through their skin. That's why these Caucasians usually would have to, when they go after black men, there'd be a bunch of them, and they got guns, just like today with the police. When there's one so-called black man, you notice to this day, one black man in the car, they calling for backup 5, 10 cars because they know they got to shoot this nigga maybe a few times. And because they know our skin don't usually tear like theirs. You see, we knew we usually could take a few shots. That whole thing about 50 Cent getting shot 59 times and whatnot. Niggas, the old school niggas, like not him, but your old school Southern ones, eating them greens, they could take some shots. That's why they would shoot the hell out of them. The white man would come with a posse and shoot the hell out of them. Because 9 times out of 10, you go after one of them black men down, them roebuck niggas down south with a gun, you run out of bullets, you in trouble. And they knew that. So they would have to be a bunch of them because they were cowards anyways. Caucasian males were cowards out there back in the South, Mississippi. They were a bunch of cowards. They would go after men in packs, So, any other questions? Any other questions? Questions, comments, concerns, whatever. Let me see what else I want to touch on. Why in this short period of time?
You did that. You did all the questions.
I think I did. I just want to make sure. I put up the picture. I was going to lead with that. Huh?
The calling number.
Someone supposed to call in? Now, that's a very important thing for us to acknowledge. And that's big. And I was saying this the other night to my wives. I said, I'm the only one standing up here saying we're not even part of the human race. We a whole nother species. Do you know what that means? When I said we the almond race, do you know what that means? The omni race, that we a whole nother species. Now, I know, like I said, I don't expect nobody to agree with me. You so-called black people trying to audition for your space to be black humans. Y'all trying to get down with the Caucasian. You want to align yourself to them. I know I'm going to sound crazy to you. I don't care about y'all. I know, of course, to the Caucasians, everybody else, I'm going to sound crazy as hell. What's this guy trying to say? What is he on? Whatever. I don't care. Look, when you are a thinker, you better be prepared to be really brave and really fierce when you are a thinker. See, believers are not a threat. Thinkers are. People who can think and process. The people who say, hey, that don't look right. You see, because when you say, hey, that don't look right, I guarantee somebody else, yeah, that don't look right. And then the other person, yeah, that don't look right. And then it's a whole bunch of people saying, hey, wait a minute. Our skin ain't black. Hey, wait a minute. That slave story don't sound right. Hey, wait a minute. 1828, that the copper-colored races who were originally the Aboriginal people, copper-colored. Then somebody puts together that picture like we found in the thing, the shirt. And next thing you know, you got the copper color girl next to it. And then we go, lights is cutting on here. Something don't sound right. Lights is starting to cut on here. Something don't sound right. You see, that's the problem. See, that's the problem. when they can't promote that to our people, when they can't promote lies, when our people no longer fall for the banana in the tailpipe, that's a problem. You see, that's the whole problem. I'm trying to get my what's the name back. Okay. When we don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe no more. See, as long as we walking around being black, notice that when long as we walking around being black, we hold on. Somebody calling? As long as we walking around being black, somebody calling? Someone calling? Okay, you can call in again.
Tell them to call me back.
She's gonna call. She's gonna call back. I guess she's gonna call back. Oh, why?
Hello?
Yeah, someone called. You called in? Did you call in?
Oh no, I didn't call back. This is Sean. I didn't call
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Somebody else called in. We're gonna have everything set up soon. Like I said, the phone says line. Okay. Just put it around here. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, I had a comment.
Yes.
I agree with what you say about the theory of we all didn't come from slave ships. Because it kind of makes perfect sense. You know, they don't want, like in my day, they don't want to teach in public schools the critical race theory on it seems like they just want to keep pressing down like society, like the new generation of black kids with, you were slaves and that's it. You know what I mean?
Well, you're right. Well, they don't even really want to say that. But you got Will Smith right now coming out with a movie. They gave him $35 million. Go figure. He's coming out with this movie called Emancipation. He's playing this slave. Why do we keep seeing all these slave movies and whatnot? Why do we keep seeing all this? Because they're trying to double down on the whole slave narrative. Because if you notice, the whole Pan-African thing is starting to, basically wane. Nobody's really checking for Pan-Africanism no more. Nobody's pushing that anymore. So once Pan-Africanism goes, pro-blackness is going to go as well. And then our people are going to start waking up mentally, and they're going to start listening to this message that I'm conveying about our people being the true ethnic Americans here, and that how we came here through our connection with our Mesoamerican ancestors who were found in all over the United States, all over America, with these mound setups. Like I said, they find these places 1,100 years ago, before Caucasians came here, before the Mongoloid Indians came here. And this is all coming out right now. So they have to try to, try to distract you with some slave nonsense, with some homosexuality, with some damn, sports, something stupid, some more Pan-Africanism, the woman king nonsense like this. That's all this is. Because the truth is coming out about our people.
Yeah, I agree on that topic, but I was curious about, you know how you say, like, we the dominant genetic, right?
Uh-huh.
I was saying this to a so-called Caucasian person, and, they took that as, like, I'm being racist. Like, it's scientific fact, though. You know what I mean? If I breed with any other female, like, I carry the dominant genetic to have my offspring more linked to so-called black. You know what I mean? If you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, you can erase all of the other races genetically.
Right.
As bronze men, we can we can just erase their whole genetic material and bring it more toward ours. But see, now they realizing that this is going to have to happen because, as I was explaining, the human race, which we are not a part of, we are a totally different species, which is why we have a dominant genetic in the Asians, the Caucasians, and the East Indians have recessive genetics. They even have the dog hair. They have that because they are a created race. Our people weren't created. We were already here. We came from a higher state into Earth's atmosphere. We wasn't created on the planet. And that's why I keep saying this is the reason why there's racism, because we're not the same race or species as these people. We carry a more dominant genetic, and we can erase their genetic. They're actually creations of ours. They came out of us through a creation process that we did here on Earth. But they're not from where we're from. And that's what the problem is. They know we're not the same race or species. This has nothing to do with color. This has nothing to do with anything other than that. These people are linked genetically through the animal fur on top of their head. That's what makes them human. We have the woolly crown, which links us to a whole nother species. And I'm the only one that's teaching that right now. Nobody else is teaching that. They still talking about we black and we human. Nah.
Yeah, I mean, you have Dane Calloway. He kind of
no, Dane Calloway. No, he don't. Dane Calloway is teaching that we black Indians. You see, that's not the same. I'm the one that said we're not black. Our skin is not black. Okay, first of all, we're not Indians because he wants to link us to Mongoloid Indians. We're Mesoamerican. We were in America before the Mongoloid Indians crossed the Bering Straits and came over from Mongolia into America, into the southern parts of America. And that's where they started mixing in with our people. That's where your so-called people that look like your Fat Joe and all them Latino people come from. They really are Mongoloids or Asian, you see, and they came and mixed in with our people and whatnot. And they started taking on our customs, which they started calling, which they, moved amongst our people, because all the stuff you see amongst the so-called Red Indians or so-called Mongoloid Indians, American Indians, come from the Mesoamerican people, from the Mayans, from the Aztec. That's our people.
Well, what about the gray race? You think that they're gonna, because they're growing, their population is growing, due to a lot of interracial.
Well, that's supposed to happen. I talked about that on my broadcast. I said that the Caucasians, the Asians, the East Indians, and the so-called mentally dead black race, they're going to all end up mixing together because there's really no point in them existing past this point. That's why if you notice, Caucasians, their birth rates are very low here in America. What you're starting to see is the decline of the Caucasian race. They're dying off because,
and also due to the sun.
Yeah, that too. That they're dying off, and that's that. And this is not something I'm making up. Joe Biden was in there blasting. They know the Caucasians are going to be a minority here in America in another 20 years or so. They're going to be a minority, and this is why they're really bringing in Ukrainians and they bringing in the Mexicans, because they've been made honorary white people. The Mexicans are honorary white people. In other words, they're going to start mixing the Ukrainians and whatever's white that's left. They're going to try and remix them. But it's still not going to work because these people are going to still die off. Why? Because you're humans. Because they have animal genetics. All animals have a point of start and finish. And the humans are really no different. The humans are going to die like as they are now. They're going to die out unless they get that shot of mitochondria DNA from the so-called, black genetic, so-called black people from that mitochondria DNA. That's the only way they're going to be able to live on.
I appreciate your perspective, man. I'm just tuning back in, bro.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Huh? What's the question?
Does white hair come from white men?
Does who?
Does white hair come from white men?
Does white hair come? No. And they're not white. They're pale. They're pink, like they're pink. Somebody call me. All right, another call. Is it going? Hold on. Can I take it from here? I think I can take it from here. Yes. Hold on. Hello?
Just the voicemail box of Victoria Davis. Please leave a short message, your name, and your number, and I'll get it.
You can call back. That's been she can call back. But what about?
I don't know what's going on.
we're about to wrap this up anyway. Yeah, we'll be back on Friday. We'll be doing the live, share the lives and whatnot, and do what you do in the live streams. Yeah. So yeah, just share the lives. Oh, somebody coming in. Hello. Hello.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Oh, thanks, finally. Sorry, I hung up and then you called back and then I accidentally hung up on again. So that didn't reach my voicemail. Sorry about that. But I did want to add 2 things. I would say I've watched Dan Calloway's videos to kind of see, what he's about, and he has differentiated between the Mongoloid Indians and us. And he was talking about us being, well, he didn't say black. He said we're not black, and he said that's why we lost a lot of stuff because we went on the moniker of black during the Black Panther, party movement and civil rights thing and stuff. And he's saying the parents of those children in the colleges were telling them not to register to vote as a black person because that's how they lost everything.
Yeah, it's like it's literally like you're wiping yourself out. You see, they tricked you into calling yourself black, and they used one of the people that they used to do it was James Brown, because up into that time, like I said, even up into the 60s, you had a lot of people resisting the whole black thing. That black title or that black identification is really from the government. That's from the government, okay? And that was their way of knowing who was black or so-called black and who was white, meaning who was the people that they were going to deprive of resources versus the people they were going to give all the resources to. That's when they started that, put on the census of you white, are you colored? They start with colored, then they went with Negro and whatnot. And then then eventually they pushed over to the black thing because that was their way of letting it be known, this is perfect. This is the opposing. This is who we're going to deny. This is who we're going to give resources to. Because like at times you would have so-called black people, they would have the same names as white people. So you didn't know who you were looking out for, who you were doing for. So that was their way of monitoring that by getting you to check what race you are.
Yep. And another thing I found out was in the early 1900s or so, when you had a lot of the European immigrants coming over here, a lot of the Irish were classified as black too. And it wasn't until a little bit later that they changed it to say, okay, if you are Caucasian from any Eurasian country or Asian or East Indian or whatever, then you can be classified as white. But before, it wasn't like that. It was a class system where they even had their Caucasians, who came from certain places.
Yeah, like the Italians. I think the Italians.
And Italians too, yeah.
The Italians, they wasn't allowed to be white right away. The Irish, that's probably where they get the term Black Irish from. They wasn't allowed to be white right away. Just like the Mexicans. The Mexicans, they was calling them all kind of wetbacks and everything else. Now, if you notice, they're about to make them honorary white people because you got honorary white people here. This is why, for the longest time, people will believe that white people or Caucasians are the majority here. When in actuality, if that's true, why would you have to get other people to declare themselves white to boost your numbers? Because when somebody says they white, that's boosting the numbers on the, on the census or whatever, because you got people declaring themselves white. The Latinos, they declare themselves white too. East Indians, all them people. Certain people who would be dark Dominicans, all them people, dark people coming from the southern parts of Africa, they'll come over here and be classified as white. Like that guy Mustafa Hefni, who came over here, who looks like a bronze American brother, Afro and everything, or natural, I should say, natural and everything. And they classified him as white on his passport. He was like, when he found out, he was like, why are you classifying me as white? I want to be known as so-called black, because, I want to be like what my people are here in America, because he identified. They was like, no, you can't identify as black. That goes back to proving what I say, that the reason why we are treated this way because we're the natives of this land. See, you can be outside of America and come in here and they won't treat you like the natives here. The Africans know that. They treat us like this because we are the natives. And the whole thing is to crush the natives, keep the natives at the bottom. They don't do that to the so-called Indians, the Mongoloid Indians. That's why they got casinos. That's why they got their own reservations and things like that. That's why they got, and the white man is with them. They could go and live on their reservations. Some of them are the heads of their so-called American Indian tribes because the white man are mixed in with them and declared themselves $5 Indians. But, you know, that's all. Touch on that. Huh? Got somebody got a question?
Because we also, you know, we talked about MLK and all of them, but Stokely Carmichael, I found out he was actually an Indian. And he was big in pushing the Black Power thing because he was going to college and giving it to the young people. He didn't go to the older people because, like I said before, it was the older people who were saying, no, we're not about that black stuff. So the government was like, well, go to the college and speak to them. And when you look at the Black Panther Party, who made up, like, you know, when we talk about the members, it was mainly young, bronze women.
Exactly. Let me let me touch on that. Now, you know, let me add on to that. You know, a lot of the Black Panthers, like I said, a lot of them people were a bunch of college educated kids, and a lot of them came out of that 50s communist movement. That's where a lot of all that Black Power and that Black Panther stuff come from. That's from the communist movement. That's why, if you notice, they do the same fist in the air. That's from the communist movement of the 50s. Because a lot of those people, yeah. That's a Marxist thing. That's a Marxist thing. That's a communist thing. That's where that comes from. Because a lot of those people are Marxists and communists that they recruited in the colleges to go in there and come with the whole Black Panther thing. Because, and like I said, they had spies all up in that thing. You know what I'm saying? It was meant to basically push our people toward blackness, more toward blackness. All right?
Now, one more thing I wanted to ask too before you go.
Uh-huh.
I also found out that when they talk about the land that was taken away from bronze people, I found out that in the article it says that it was 16 million acres of land, which would be equivalent to about $300 billion today. And so the article was saying that, well, and I know, because I read some of the things, that either they just straight up killed the bronze people who were on the land, or they pushed them out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you have 16 million, that's a lot of people on a lot of land. And so I think that in history class, we learned about the Trail of Tears. That couldn't have been the Mongoloid Indians because they already had temporary housing in the form of teepee. They just get up and move. Mm-hmm. They were not farmers. They weren't. They were migratory people. We were the ones that had the farms and the land and the civilization, because otherwise, why did they take so much land from us and not from the Mongoloid Indians? They just moved them. But you don't find any type of document saying they took land from them.
No.
And how much they took. They say they moved them away.
That's all they did.
The Trail of Tears was not about the Mongoloid Indians. It was us.
Yeah.
Who had to figure out someplace else to go. We were mad and upset because either some of our family members were killed, and because they literally just run up in your house and just kill you.
Yeah, just take.
And say, don't come back here no more.
Yeah, that's what they did.
You got to figure out a place to live. So they moved west or moved north.
Yeah.
And where did they say the Mongoloid Indians moved west and moved north?
Yeah. That's what they did. They just came and took whatever they wanted to take, and they was backed by this government. That's why you think when people, that's nothing new. What they did in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where they just, took them people's land, destroyed their businesses, and the government backed that. That was government-sponsored terrorism. That's what that was, And people want to sit up here and act like, this is anything other than the people that come in attacking the natives. This is the real attack of the natives. This is why the natives living in projects. This is why the natives are sitting up here with the worst foods, the worst supermarkets in their neighborhoods. That's why crack and dope is able to be sold in your ethnic American neighborhoods. Because they wanted death to the ethnic American people. Because we are a direct descendant of the Mesoamerican people who are the true founding fathers of this society. They want to keep on linking us to Africa because they know ain't nothing popped off in Africa. Them Africans ain't did nothing. The Africans, like I said, that whole connection to them is really meant to just sever our connection with our American ancestry, our Olmec, Aztec, Inca, and Mayan ancestry. But, that's all I got to say on that. About to wrap this up. Thank you for calling in. Menzak. All right. I'm going to wrap this up. This has been good. Just want to touch on a few things. I'll be back on Friday to touch on some more things. I'm going to get some more of these high and mighty talks in. I'm going to close out in the name of Amen, by the power of Amen, and Amen we trust, and Amen we thank, and in Amen we continue forward. I'm out.